You're a grown man! He's a robot cat! Pull yourself together! Seriously.
Hi. I'm Bobby. I am a robot cat. Happy belated Valentine's Day. I took the day off to bask in my own self-pity. And recall the time an alley cat named Tabitha wrenched my heart from its cavity, and stomped all over it. Never mind. So many of you have asked me to react to the portion of Emily D. Baker's recent stream, to which she discusses Clark Swanson requesting the settlement agreement between Catherine, Queen of Defamation, Joy and Tati Westbrook. Let us have a look.
So lawsuits are not fun at all. They're super stressful and they are so expensive. They can also potentially be avoided if the parties can find a way to sit down with one another and find common ground.
With that, our next topic is Tati Updates. Because again, I was going to get to Tati Updates tonight, and now I'm just like, there are so many filings in the Wendy Williams case that all happened so fast that I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of what's going on in the Tati case and pull up one of the motions that I found interesting. So, with that, an updated answer was filed. We've already been over the original answer. The updated answer doesn't change very much. It has the same, denials. There was a lot of snark in the answer, which we appreciated.
I, too, appreciate snark.
And then there were counterclaims. The counterclaims are still there, including outrage, which is essentially an intentional infliction of emotional distress, IIED claim.
Well, this is wild.
Basically the same elements, just in the state of Washington. Invasion of privacy and multiple claims for that. Abuse of process and a federal wiretapping allegation saying that the recording of the underlying business meeting that we've all talked so much about was illegally recorded. With that, there was also a filing by Swanson in Washington asking for discovery to be compelled. And we're just going to talk about the court's order there real quick because it's a lot. Kempire's like, this Tati is still going. Oh, there's multiple cases still going.
I am here for this.
When I say y'all, we're following it till the end. There are multiple Tati lawsuits and will probably be up in well until 2023. So for those of you that are like, are we still talking about Tati? Yes, because every time I bring up something else, I get asked 100 times over, Tati updates. So these are our quick updates until we get to do a breakdown of everything. So
much gratitude.
So here's the order granting plaintiff's motion to compel, plaintiff being Swanson, signed by the judge who was sitting in for the other judge. This was just signed January 10th. Look, we're topical. We're on time, kind of. Here's what this said. The court considered the following: plaintiff's motion to compel, declaration of Nathan Bishop in support of plaintiff's motion to compel, lawyer. Defendant's non-opposition to plaintiff's motion to compel, declaration of Jazzy Jeff Belanco, lawyer. Reply in support of plaintiff's motion to compel. And then it says the defendants have filed a response entitled non-opposition. They state that they do not oppose the relief requested by plaintiff and that they intend to produce the documents sought by plaintiff if and when the court issues an order compelling the production of the documents at issue.
Where they can work out their differences. And that is exactly what happened here. I'm so happy to announce that a settlement has been reached as to all of the claims between myself and Tati and James Westbrook.
Defendants non-opposition at 3 and 4, docket 82. The defendants state that in the meantime, however, they are obligated to oppose the plaintiff's motion by reason of the terms of a settlement agreement that they have executed with a third party in another case.
And the process was done in good faith. So during the mediation process, both sides were able to openly and honestly share information regarding the claims and defenses.
Who do they have a settlement agreement with? Who do you think the settlement agreement's with? I think that Swanson is trying to get the settlement agreement that Tati has with KJ. That's what I think they're trying to get.
So through talking with one another in the mediation, I was able to share with the Westbrooks that as part of my defense, some of the certain statements that I had made that they had found to be disparaging had actually come from various sources.
Because what other settlement agreement would they be trying to seek in discovery? And settlement agreements, you don't win a suit, you settle a suit. Settlement agreements generally say that the settlement agreement cannot be disclosed unless it's ordered. But if it's ordered and it ends up in court documents, will we get to see the settlement agreement and know the things?
That would be aces.
The curiosity, the desire to know the things. But settlement agreements generally say you cannot disclose the terms or contents of that agreement to anyone, which is why I think when we saw the video from KJ saying this is what we've agreed to, I think that video, or at least the script of the video, was probably approved by both attorneys before it was made public on the YouTubes.
In the mediation, I also learned that I learned information from them that actually led me to believe that several of these sources had manipulated me into publishing disparaging statements about the Westbrooks for their own purposes and to otherwise cause harm to the Westbrooks.
So my nosy butt is like, is this going to become court record in this case in Washington?
I, too, possess a nosy bum.
And oh my, I think that's a possibility. And then we might get to see what is in that settlement agreement. Wouldn't that be interesting?
Because of this, I have since deleted these statements from my social media platforms. And I've removed all the videos related to this matter as well. As the Westbrooks recognized that I had been manipulated and weaponized by some of these sources, the Westbrooks and their representatives have also withdrawn their statements that they've made about me.
So this is why they're like, look, we will turn this over if the court orders us to turn it over, but we don't want to breach the settlement agreement that was reached in the other case, Tati versus KJ defamation case. Tati's lawyers don't want to breach that agreement by just turning over that settlement agreement to Swanson. Now, why would Swanson want that settlement agreement?
Starting over a year ago, one of these sources in particular had repeatedly contacted me totally unsolicited and provided me over the course of several months with disparaging information about the Westbrooks and their various businesses.
Well, things that were said by KJ has found their way into both of these cases, and Swanson wants to know what the settlement agreement is for and what was said. And if I was his attorney, I would absolutely want to know what is said in that settlement agreement.
It's now my opinion that this person contacted me for the purpose of feeding me and manipulating me into publishing disparaging statements about the Westbrooks to cause them harm. This source then sued the Westbrooks and asked me to break the story about his loss.
This continues with what Tati said, Tati being the defendant in this case. Defendants, Tati and James Westbrook. They state words are going to be very hard tonight because my brain is just not on the same level that I need it to be right now. Defendants state that they have been attempting to negotiate a protective order with plaintiff, which they apparently hope will persuade the third parties to consent to their proposal to produce the subject documents in response to plaintiff's discovery responses.
Catherine has certainly dug herself a shallow hole here.
Well. They are trying to negotiate a protective order so that it doesn't become public. So I understand wanting it not to become public. That's generally part of a settlement agreement, is that it doesn't become public. But now I'm like, could this happen? Certain documents sought or to be sought during discovery may well qualify for protection pursuant to CR 26C.
I do wonder what they could be hiding.
If the parties are unable in good faith to reach an agreement as to how the confidentiality of the documents should be protected during discovery, the proper procedure is for the producing party to identify the allegedly confidential and or privileged documents, prepare a privilege log, generate redacted and unredacted copies of the documents, and file a motion for protective order to protect those specifically identified documents. So the court is like, look, if you want to do this, you have to follow this procedure. So they, it's interesting to me that Swanson hasn't agreed to whatever protective order they want on these documents and hasn't agreed that the documents would be filed under seal or such, which again, what will we see in the public forum? And when will we see it? I don't know, Emily. When will we see it? Keep reading.
Well, Catherine is a gossipy pile of never mind.
Defendants have not filed a motion for a protective order, and they have interposed no substantial opposition to plaintiff's motion. Thus, based on the record presented, the court hereby grants the plaintiff's motion to compel within 10 days from this date of the order. The defendants shall serve upon the plaintiff's full and complete responses to plaintiff's first request for production of documents, January 10th, 2022.
This source is the Westbrook's business partner in Halo Beauty, Clark Swanson.
So in the next 10 days, what we may see is a motion to file this under seal and parts under seal, wherein we may learn a little bit more about whatever settlement agreement was reached between Tati Westbrook and KJ during that defamation suit when it was dismissed for jurisdiction. And then it seemed to me that that agreement was to not, whatever agreement they reached was, well, KJ put a video on her channel talking about it. Whatever agreement was reached included not refiling a case in Minnesota and included giving information on the sources or source being Clark Swanson.
As a result of having the ability to speak with the other side and to better develop an understanding of what has happened, I have agreed to provide whatever information and physical evidence I have to the Westbrooks about my communications with the sources that provided me with such disparaging information and to cooperate in the Westbrooks' efforts to address some of the damage caused by the dissemination of such disparaging information.
Catherine, you are quite screwed. Cheers.